Matt and I are pretty good at building gaming PCs, but little did you guys know, we used to be horrible when it came to networking and security. We actually failed those courses in high school.
So today we thought it'd be a great idea to build our first NAS. Well, we've actually learned a lot since those high school days, and in today's video we're building a NAS/media server that is in part to today's video sponsor Seagate and Newegg. Seagate sent over their 32 terabyte Ironwolf Pro drives, where we have 5 of them in this system, along with a 28 terabyte drive we have from them as well, to make a 188 terabyte raw capacity NAS that we're going to be deploying here at Toasty Bros HQ to basically hoard a bunch of data. Jonah has a lot of data he likes to hoard here, all his footage and everything, and everyone here at the office has their own special folder to hoard data. But we want to use this server to keep video files long-term on our network where we can access them for future videos and or just other projects where we're going to look back and reference stuff in the past. You can hear those hard drives revving up right now in the background, but this entire NAS we put together for a very expensive price. It is close to $5,000 in terms of cost because of the cost of drives right now, but it's a really cool media server that you will really like to see in this video. We're going to show you how to set it up, how we built this entire setup, and how you can deploy it yourself. But thanks again to Seagate for sponsoring this video. Let's talk more about those 32 terabyte Ironwolf Pro drives and how we're going to implement them in this NAS.
Thanks again to Seagate and Newegg for sponsoring today's video. With their Ironwolf Pro 32 terabyte NAS drives, you get reliability you can trust with 24/7 performance and dependability in multi-bay, multi-user, commercial, and enterprise RAID storage solutions. With these hard drives, you get class-leading dependency with up to 550 terabytes per year workload rating and a 5-year limited warranty for unparalleled total cost of ownership. You also get peace of mind with a 3-year data recovery service included with each drive. And like we're doing in today's video, these drives are optimized for a NAS build with agile array and dual plane balancing, time-limited error recovery, and rotational vibration sensors to deliver top RAID performance in a multi-bay environment. So you can load up a NAS with these drives and feel confident your setup is going to be stable and reliable. To learn more about these 32 terabyte Ironwolf Pro drives and all the other drives that Seagate has to offer, check the link down below, and let's not waste any more time and dive into exactly what we're going to be doing here when building our media server.
So now to talk about the parts of this server PC. Underneath this ID cooling cooler, we have a Ryzen 5 5500 6-core 12 thread. We paid about $85 for it. And one of the main reasons for that is it's a pretty low power CPU, doesn't draw a ton of heat. And on top of that, we went with DDR4 RAM because what is the point in going DDR5 for something so simple like this? And because we got a 5500, we can afford to do some higher end tasks like running a Minecraft server, you know, maybe a little something cool like that. Let us know down below if that's something you guys want. And on top of that, being able to store so many things. Now for the cooler, we went with an IDCooling cooler. This is the IS-67-XT, and it comes in at about $39. Now this CPU does come with a cooler, by the way. You don't have to get an aftermarket cooler, but this looks nicer and it'll keep the noises down. It'll make it to where this thing's not gonna be constantly just revving full speed. We can actually do some low fan curves because this will be in our main office, so we don't wanna annoy the boys with it. And honestly, we just had this cooler on hand. Realistically, you could fit almost any cooler in here. You could probably fit a decent sized tower cooler, and look at this. You could fit a 360 on the top, the bottom, and the front, or front, side, bottom, whatever you describe. You can fit a lot of cooling in this. So the motherboard choice is a pretty interesting one because we got an Asus TUF B550, and this board is a plus Wi-Fi board. So the main thing is $120 for a full-size board is already not a bad price, but there was something kind of unique about this board, well, unique to ATX boards that we wanted, and that was 2.5 gigabit LAN because we want this thing to be fast for transferring data. So we're gonna be transferring like 10, 20, 30, I mean, upwards of hundreds of gigs at a time. So having 2.5 gig was important to us, and it has a lot of nice expansion ports, you know, because this PC could be used for other things, and it has 6 SATA ports, which is also important to us because this case, which we'll talk about in a minute, can fit up to 12 full-size hard drives, which is pretty insane, and they're all hot swap, which is even cooler. And obviously with it being ATX, we get extra PCIe lanes, like this full-size one here. We also get some 1Xs, that right there is a 4X. So in theory, we can add things like SATA cards for even more drives. We can even add, you know, more graphics cards if we really wanted to. So next up for the RAM, we have 16 gigs of GSkill Ripjaws RAM. And this RAM's at 3200 megahertz at CL16, 16 gigs total, dual channel. So like I said, we were able to really save some big money on that because if we went DDR5, this build would have costed a lot more than it already does. Now, not talking about any of those hard drives, we have one SSD on the motherboard right now. It's a 1 terabyte TimeTech drive, and that is where we're gonna be installing the OS. That is also where we can install anything else that we need to be like blazing fast. And realistically, if you're building one of these out yourself, you don't have to get a 1 terabyte. There's a lot of things with this that we're gonna keep giving you guys disclaimers on because I know some of you are gonna be like, wow, you guys spent like $5,500 on this. And no, you don't need to do any of this. It's just we had the resources available, so we thought, why not go all the way? And speaking of going all the way, our graphics card, we had to go with the latest and greatest, and that's why we have an RTX 3056 gig low profile in here from Yeston. So this was more of a, we just needed display out, and you know, at the small chance that we ever need to do anything encoding wise, we have NVIDIA encoder built into this, we got ray tracing built into it, we got all the features, and these cards you can get for still around like 200 bucks, so it's definitely one of the cheapest display outs you can get new that comes with a full height and low profile bracket, not that we needed. And one last thing to note is obviously depending on what kind of server you're going for, it can be important to have a graphics card. Like if it's like a Plex server and you're trying to play like some 4K video and stuff, having something like a 3056 gig can be pretty good. Some of you guys think that's all it can do, so there you go. Now for the power supply, we didn't have to get anything crazy. This is just an MSI 650 watt. It's the A650BE, and we really just needed to have enough SATA to be able to power all these hard drives. We needed like basic components for like the CPU power and stuff like that. We don't even have graphics card power, so yeah, really any unit's good. Just get yourself something decent so you don't have to worry about it dying. Now for the case, this is a really unique one. This is the Jonsbo N5 NAS Case. So you can get this in different sizes like micro ATX, but the main drawback with that is you do have to get an SFX power supply, and you can fit only about half the drives, and you have to go micro ATX. So there's, at the end of the day, you might save a tiny amount of money on going micro ATX, but then you're also going to be having to do SFX, which cost way more, and we couldn't have as many hard drives. Now, right now, we're not even using all these bays. It's just the idea of future-proofing, the fact that we could put 12. I don't know why I held up my fingers, because I don't have 12 fingers, but the fact that you can put 12 drives in here is pretty insane. We could have this thing loaded up to like, I don't know, half of a petabyte?
It could be pretty close.
I think that that's the right term there, when you got a lot of storage. Is that right, petabyte?
We'll be a little bit under. It'd be 384 terabytes, so it would be a little under.
So, oh, if we did all 32s?
All 32s, yeah.
It'd be a third. A third of a petabyte. Crazy. And now obviously this case is a little bit of premium, 265 bucks. 265 bucks. For a case, sounds like a lot, but honestly, look at how much you could spend on like a rack mount case, having to get really proprietary hardware. It's really not too bad because you could use this for gaming too. That's what's cool, is nothing's really proprietary in this build. Now, if you've been following along, you're probably wondering, where's the rest of the money at, Jackson? Like, that doesn't sound that expensive. Well, the hard drives are where all the money went, because as you guys may know, AI, making hard drives can be expensive right now. But luckily, Newegg, they do have these drives. 32 terabyte Seagate Ironwolf Pro. And each one of these drives cost $759 each. They do have 512 megabytes of cache to make, the reading and writing a little bit quicker. But that brings our total for hard drives to $3,795. And so that $3,795 accounts for 5 of our drives, but we decided we wanted a little more storage. So we bought one 28 terabyte, and that was $689.99. When you do the math, the price per gig is really not as insane as you might think, and especially considering how much SSDs are. When we're having over 100 terabytes of storage, it's really not that bad spending a little over like $5,000 for the whole entire build. And I don't know, this thing's gonna be insane. It's definitely a marvel to look at. It's very pretty, it's gonna look really good in our office, and it's gonna be there for a while.
Now for those at home who are experts when it comes to building media servers or just NASs in general, you're probably wondering the most important question. What operating system are we gonna be running on this? And the winner is Zima OS, mainly because Zima OS is very user-friendly, gives us access to build our hard drive array very simply and put it all together. I do have to give a shout out to Tech by Matt, by the way, YouTube guy we've known for a long time. He made a bunch of videos on how to build these on the budget side of things, which is something we want to do in the future, but since we were able to get the opportunity to build our own server and really deck it out, I've seen some of his videos where he's gone through how to set up Zima OS, and he does a really good job explaining it, and a lot of those principles he mentioned in that video, I did use in this video because I needed to learn how to use the operating system for the first time myself, and I'm going to pass that information along to you guys if you've been watching this video, but I'm going to link his videos down below as well as a shout out, because he does a great job explaining it. So let's not waste more time, show you guys what Zima OS is, download it to a USB, get it installed on here. We'll show you guys what that process is like. We're going to build the array, show you all the backend software or what makes a thing like this run, and get those Seagate Ironwolf Pro drives ready to be used in our NAS configuration.
Alright, creating a USB for Zima OS is actually really straightforward. All you gotta do is go to their website, download the image file, and then pick a program that you're gonna use to build a bootable USB. For me, I'm gonna go with Balena Etcher because it's pretty easy to use, and all the links that you need if you want to copy this at home are available down below. This is not gonna be a great step-by-step guide, but it will get you up and running if you are curious about building your own storage media server using Zima OS. So once we have our image downloaded, we'll use Balena Etcher to flash a flash drive. Have one plugged in, we we have this 32 gig flash drive from Micro Center that is a pretty solid deal that you can pick up at local Micro Centers or on Amazon today. And then once the image is done flashing, you'll be prompted by Boolean Etcher that it was successful. From there, we're going to take our flash drive and plug it into our PC. You do want to make sure the Secure Boot is disabled for this initial install because it will cause some issues. But once you plug up the flash drive, it'll boot directly to an install screen that is super straightforward. Install Zima OS. You're going to pick the SSD that you have installed in your system. As you guys can see, I have a bunch of hard drives right here, but I'm going to pick my SSD because it's going to house my operating system. The install will then proceed, and make sure you pick the right drive. It'll ask you multiple times, and then the install is complete, and you will reboot back to a main screen where Zima OS will detect your network settings and give you an IP address to access your Zima OS server on your local network. You're going to want to save that IP address because this will allow you to remote in from a desktop PC, because this operating system is a headless operating system, meaning you don't really access any of the information or customize it directly from the system itself. You get access to the GUI interface from a web browser from any PC that you end up using. And that's pretty much it. Zima OS is installed. Now let's jump back in and show you guys how we're going to configure our server with all the hard drives that we have. It is time to create our storage pool using those beautiful Seagate Ironwolf Pro drives provided by Seagate. Very excited to do that, but we got to show you guys what Zima OS is all about and how we're going to configure our storage pool. And if you're following along at home, the steps you are at right now are we just finished installing Zima OS. You should get an IP that pops up on the screen of your server once you have it hooked up to a monitor. You take that IP address, that is the local IP of your media server, go to a PC that is on the same network. You can use Google Chrome, whatever web browser you want, and type in that IP address, and then you'll be prompted to sign in to your Zima OS account, your admin account, which once you sign in, you'll get access to the beautiful dashboard, and we'll talk about how we're going to create our storage pool. But not only that, we're going to show you guys all the other cool stuff you can do within Zima OS. And here we are into the dashboard for Zima OS. Now, we talked about this at the beginning of the video. There are many different options you can go with for an operating system for a NAS. You got free NAS/true NAS, you got Unraid, and there's even more out there. As a noob in this space that has very little experience building any of these kind of solutions, Zima OS really stood out to me because it looked incredibly user-friendly, and from the tutorials I've seen online, has a very easy to use interface, which those other ones you could probably do more with. You maybe have more expandability, but it requires you to learn a lot more, and that may be a rabbit hole we go down later on. But as we are here at the Toasty Bros, trying to learn networking and build stuff that works for us, Zima OS seemed like the great solution. But if you guys have any concerns on us using Zima OS, let us know in the comments down below, because I already know when it comes to this space on the internet, there's going to be some strong opinions one way or another. But we decided to go Zima OS, and everything is looking pretty good here. So the initial interface will show you guys some of the main stuff on the dashboard. So we see our RAM usage, our CPU usage, we see our RTX 3050 just vibing out there. You do see our main SSD, which is a 1 terabyte SSD, which we can use that for more things now. Just because it has Zima OS installed, it doesn't mean we just have to waste that storage. We can use that SSD storage for something else, which we will dive into in a bit. And you can see the network traffic on the NAS. Right now, nothing's happening because there is no storage pool. But we're going to go ahead and build our storage pool by clicking on Manage. From here, you're going to see access to our system drive, the Zima OS hard drive, which is our system SSD. But we also have a storage pool that is unavailable. So what we're going to do is create a storage pool by hitting Create Storage. From there, we're going to decide what kind of use case we're going to be using this for. Obviously, we want to run a RAID array. We want to combine use of all those drives because we want to get a maximum storage and have some redundancy built in to be able to rebuild the RAID array if something happens to one of the drives. So we're going to go with combined use. Now this is where things become a bit debatable, especially depending on what kind of system you're going with. The one thing though we're not going to do is run RAID 1 or RAID 0. That is just not going to happen. These two are not going to be the best option for us. RAID 0 is just a non-negotiable. RAID 0 is basically a striped array. You run it across all the drives and you're just using all the drives in their full capacity with no redundancy. If you're looking for the fastest possible configuration, RAID 0 would be that. But for us, that's not what we're doing with this storage array. We really want to have a little bit of redundancy built in. That's where I'm kind of looking at these options right here, RAID 5 versus RAID 6. The difference between 1 backup disk and 2 backup disks, and the minimum number of disks, and your overall speed rating. I really like, for noobs like me, who are trying to decide which RAID array to go with, Zima OS gives you a brief explanation of each one, and then it's good for you to do your own research to decide which one's the best option for you. Now, I know we're using a bit of a weird storage configuration, which makes RAID 5 versus RAID 6 a bit of a debate, or how many of the drives to actually use for this RAID array to make things make a lot of sense. But based on my research, I'm thinking the best option is going to be RAID 6 using all of our drives. 532GB Seagate Ironwolf Pro drives and a 28TB Seagate Ironwolf Pro drive, which is a bit of an odd configuration. Normally you would go with 6 of the same ones or 5 of the same ones. But if we want to use all the drives, RAID 6 is actually still the better option, even though when you use RAID 6, you're basically taking all your drives in the RAID array and lowering it to the lowest possible drive in the RAID array. So each one of the drives is going to be 28 terabytes in theory, losing a good amount of storage, but the total pool size will still be better than if we did 5 drives of the same capacity and also run RAID 6 as well. So if we ran RAID 6 with the 5 drives without the extra drive and kept all the other drives at 32 terabytes of capacity, we would have a total usable drive output of 96 terabytes with redundancy of 2 drives. But if we do add that 28 terabyte drive, even though it does bring down all the other 32 terabytes to 28 terabytes in total capacity, adding that drive more than makes up for it, giving us a total usable capacity of 112 terabytes. So once again, in your configuration at home, I would buy as many of the same drivers as you can, make your life a lot easier, unless you know a RAID configuration that would make more sense for you. But based on my research, we're going to be running RAID 6 here to get more redundancy with the data we want to keep critically safe. Now, RAID is not a backup. That is a terminology I know a lot of you are going to be saying. You should still have offsite backup support, and that is something we're going to be implementing as well, is to take care of the data in other backup solutions, because RAID in itself is not a backup. It's just a redundancy built in. But we're going to go ahead and go with RAID 6, build out this array, and see how many usable drives we have from it. So we're going to select RAID 6, and we're going to go ahead and select all our drives. So we have this drive right here, which is 32 terabytes. We have our 28, our 32, 32, 32, and 32. And there you go. There's our 112 terabytes of usable storage, which is a lot of usable storage and a good amount of protection and redundancy. And again, when you have reliable drives like these Seagate Ironwolf Pro drives, I mean, drives are going to fail. It happens. But the longevity you're getting with these drives, and as long as you're following good data protection policies, which here at the Toasty Bros we're trying to do better at, you will feel very confident and have a good configuration that you'll be happy with for the long run. So here is our drive configuration. That is a lot of terabytes of usable storage, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and hit next. We're going to call this I feel like we need to have a cool name for this. What is a cool name for our storage? We're going to call this the Toaster Vault. Toaster Vault. Here we go. So Toaster Vault's what I'm going to go with for our 112 terabyte NAS. It's going to be pretty cool here. We're going to initiate the RAID configuration, and I am aware that all the files on these drives will be deleted. Obviously, there's nothing on these drives, but we do need to delete them to create the RAID 6 pool. We're going to hit create. It is now creating, depending on the size of our, array. It should take a while. That was incredibly quick. There we go. We're going to go and view this storage pool now, which look at this. There's our storage pool, 112 terabytes available. Absolutely beautiful. Now, the whole point of this is obviously we have access to this array, but what are we going to do with it? So if we open up this file folder here, you can see this is where you can access it remotely. Well, not remotely currently, we're on the same network, but you can access it remotely because this is basically your own cloud storage, and why you at home, who may not do 112 terabytes, maybe you have 20 terabytes, 30 terabytes, could just break away from Google Drive and have your own self-hosted cloud storage by doing something like this. That is really cool. But what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead and create our first folder. We're going to call this folder within the Toaster Vaults. Let's just call it the Vault. All right, so what we're going to need to do, now that we have our folder that we want to share on our network, we need to share it via Samba. So right click on the drive, share via Samba. This allows us to create different accounts for people to access this on the network. So let's say we want our video editor to only have read access and not write access. They can have access to the files, but they can't do anything to modify them. That is something we can do as well. Or if there's somebody here on the staff that we only want to have read access as well, we can do that as well. But we're just going to make it to where we have the one admin account, because for the most part, we have some redundancies built in where we're not too worried about anyone mass deleting anything, but we'll check on that in a bit. Let's go ahead and hit create. And from here, we now have access to how to use Samba. So we can use Windows Explorer, which obviously would be the way we're going to test it here in just a second. You access the Vault via this address in File Explorer, or if you're on Mac OS, you can do the exact same thing. So we're going to hit copy here. On the PC that we're on, which is actually in our voiceover room, it'll still have access to this, by the way. We're going to go over here and type this in, hit enter. Now we were prompted to type in our credentials, and now we have access to the Vault. The next thing we're going to need to do is map this drive, which the best way I've seen how is to go back to this root folder. Here's the Toaster Vault within the Vault, and then there's the Vault. I don't know why it's set up like that. Toaster Vault, the Vault. I guess if okay, so I can map this main drive or directly to this one. I'm gonna go ahead and map the toaster vault. So we're gonna go ahead and hit show more options, map network drive. We're gonna make this X because we do have other drives on the network already. We're gonna hit finish. And just like that, now, if we go to our PC, hey, look at that. The toaster vaults with 101 terabytes of usable storage currently. The backrest just fell on the ground out of my excitement. That's insane. Looking absolutely beautiful. Go inside the vault and boom, we have access to our files here. Now, currently, it's not in its final configuration where we want it to be. It is just deployed on our test system, which only has gigabit internet. I can test it real quick just to show you guys, but it currently only has gigabit speed, so that's all you're going to see when we transfer stuff here. Let's see, do I have something kind of big locally on the network? I don't think locally, so actually we'll do network to network. Let's do something from our YouTube files. So this is from a NAS that is connected to 2.5 gig and has SSDs in it. This is the one that's just used for video editing. It's a bit of a smaller drive, but it has access to all the raw files that we use for video editing. So I'm just going to take, let's see, let's go through here. Let's go view, large icons. Let's find a file that's a couple gigs. Let's do 2 gigs here. This would be fine. All right, so what I did was I took this file right here. It's a little 2 gig file, a video recording that I have on the desktop of this PC. Now I'm going to do this transfer test, but we should only be getting around 100 megabit, maybe a little bit slower because we are doing some scanning and building of this RAID array. It's doing a RAID check right now, which says it's going to take a while. Doesn't mean the RAID array is unusable right now, but it will run this RAID check for, as you can tell, 62 hours, which is going to be quite the process for such a big RAID array. But once that's done, we'll be good to go. But we're going to go ahead and do this transfer, which from the desktop, a 2 gig file should give us close to gigabit speed. We're like right about at gigabit speed, which is what we should be doing. I think it's a little bit slower. I have to look into why it's a little bit slower. Maybe it's because of that checking right now, but a little bit slower than gigabit speeds. But we are transferring that 2 gig file to our NAS. And once we do get the final deployment, it will be hooked up to 2.5 gigs. So we will get that full bandwidth through 2.5 gig, which is pretty dang cool. Now, the main point of this video is building the RAID array, and that's probably where we're going to focus mainly in this video, but in the future, we are going to do more content within Zima OS where we dive into the App Store and build some other stuff. Some things you can do in the App Store, which is one reason why I really like Zima OS, is you can go through and install stuff like a Jellyfin server or Plex server. For those who don't know what those are media servers where you can host your own like Netflix on your network, where you can download video files. If you sail the high seas, if that is your thing, and you want to have a bunch of files on your NAS that has a ton of storage, you can actually access it from, let's say, like a Fire Stick or a TV that has smart TV functionality. You can watch stuff on your own network and build your own Netflix. You can do that as well. Pi-hole allows you to get network-wide ad blocking. Some of this may or may not work on YouTube, and hopefully you guys support us and not use it on YouTube, but regardless, it is a way to stop some of the very intrusive ads you do see across the internet. You also have access to a Minecraft server as well. If I type in Minecraft, you can use Crafty to build a Minecraft server, which is a fun way to host a Minecraft server within your own network. I know us personally are probably going to build one of these out and give it a shot so we can have a Minecraft server here at the office we can mess around with and use at home. And there's just so many other different things you can dive into. RetroArch for online emulation, ROM-M for self-hosting a ROM manager, and a bunch of different other apps that are all included that you can get. Now, the one thing that we did forget to mention is with all the drives that we have configured, Zima OS is a freemium software, meaning there is a free version you can use, and it's limited to, I believe, 4 drives. And I realized once I had 6 drives, I had to pay for the premium version, which I did pay for. You pay $30 once, and that is it. And in my opinion, $30 is more than worth it to have access to the features that we have right here. And it's not a, well, subscription service, which is really, really cool. So we have our storage pool configured. You see what Zima OS is all about. It looks really cool, and shout out again to Seagate for sponsoring this video with those drives, because this would not be possible without those Seagate Ironwolf Pro drives. If you're building a NAS, get a Seagate drive. Just get one of your high capacity drives, specifically the 32 terabytes. If you're someone who loves hoarding data or wants to have a deployment in an environment that needs a really reliable drive that is high capacity, check out Seagate drives. The Ironwolf Pros using the link down below. But let's go ahead and bring Jackson back in here and wrap this entire build up.
So let us know down below what you guys thought. Did we actually build a media server properly? Because I think we did a pretty good job. I think this is really cool. And don't worry, I do agree with Matt. We're going to be giving you guys some more budget versions, because the Toasty Bros, we're not all about spending money. We're usually about saving money. This was just a fun way to be able to use our sponsor Newegg and Seagate to get some of the best drives we possibly could. But in the future, we'll definitely go absolutely cheapest with like a $200 version of this.
So shout out again to Seagate and Newegg for sponsoring this video. Check out the Ironwolf Pro drives, whether you're looking for a 32 terabyte balls to the wall setup like we have in this video, or any of the other drives they have to offer. If you're building a NAS, you'll want to go with Seagate and those Ironwolf drives because they make the process very easy and give you that good reliability that you need with your precious data. Use all the links down below if you want to purchase anything for today's video. They are affiliate links and they will help us out. And once again, if you guys want to see, like Jackson mentioned, a more budget version here on the channel in the future, let us know in the comments.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Jonah, I'm up here. Now, if you want to get your own budget NAS, you can check out PCBros.tech, because you can actually do a custom build consultation and tell us you want something like that, and Mac can build it on stream for you.
And if you guys didn't know, we have a local store at Louisville, Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, where you can come in person. We actually have some office PCs as well that would do great for a budget NAS if you're building one yourself. Use code ToastyBros on checkout. You will save 3% of your next purchase. See you guys later. Bye-bye.